Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and talk about what's new and what's been happening. I tell you, it's been a crazy week for me. I've been trying to take the new OM-1 out as much as I can, and I thought I'd just give you my first week's impressions. Um, and long story short, I love it. It's an awesome camera, and if you guys have any questions or anything about it, I have the camera here. I was lucky. I got mine, pretty early, almost as soon as it got released and shipped. And I got it Friday, I think Friday last week, maybe Saturday. But um, I've taken it on, I think, 2 photo walks, and I've done a lot of testing. And I'm working on a couple of videos for this week coming up on the autofocusing for tracking my dog Ellie, which I'll preview some of the images I got because I already have the images done. I just have to put a video together. And also, I'm going to be talking about the high speed shutter. The 120 frames per second, the 60 or is it 50 or anyway, it's fast, right? The Pro Capture and best settings for that because I learned a lot about uh, Pro Capture, something I never really worried about before because I wasn't really a birder, wildlife, animal guy. I was just a street shooter, whatever, photo walk guy. I didn't really focus on shooting wildlife because uh, the skill set required for that is pretty high to get good shots, right? I mean, just like if you specialize in any kind of photography, but the OM-1, my goodness, makes it so easy now. And so my confidence level is much higher now. You still need that skill set, right? Of being able to just track the bird yourself with your own eyes and judging distance and direction and getting familiar with how animals and things behave, right? So you can kind of anticipate and predict. Because the camera gives you a lot of tools. Olympus always has with the EM1s, with the Pro Capture and stuff, and tracking but you still need to be very skilled or very talented. Let me pull up my chat window. See who's here. Hey George, how are you? Lassie, Roger's here, and Christine, good to see you. Mike Shelley, John follows. Music Sound Gear, glad you can make it today. And Randy, always good to see you. Ultramuck, oh my goodness, it's been a while. I don't think I've seen you in a long time. David Black, Mike Shelley, got the OM1 Mark II. I feel like if they really wanted to tie the new OM-1 to the original OM-1 film, they should have called this one the Mark II. Uh, that would, because people might start asking if they're not familiar with it. What was the Mark I? And they can go back to like 1972, right? And then learn the history of Olympus and that they're not just a fly-by-night company, right? Because I'm sure there's many people out there didn't know Olympus still made cameras or didn't even know they existed. And when they go to the store and they see a Mark II, they might be like, "Wow, what's the Mark I?" Right? And oh, hey, David, how are you? I still haven't developed those roles yet. Uh, I might get some time today. The last 2 days I've been trying to stay warm and uh, do some more testing with the OM-1. And Cliff is here. Last car, good to see you. You have the OM-1N. Yep, I have the 1N, the 1 and the 2, well, the 2N, and all with the motor drives, right? And I got the motor drive for. Yeah, I got wonderful cameras. Wonderful cameras. Uh, Oh, that's cool. It has been a while, huh, Ultramuck? I didn't realize. Yeah, I thought so. And Roberto, oh my God, what are you doing up? I am starting a little earlier today. I didn't realize it was daylight savings time. But when I'm waking up in the morning, I just say, Alexa, what time is it? And it said it's like 7:30. And I'm like, ooh, I gotta get up. And then I come out to my living room and it says 6:30 on the clock. And I'm like, oh, daylight savings. Daylight savings already. Which is great. I love daylight savings time. I wish they would just kind of split it down the middle and stop doing this shift. Like just shift it a half an hour or pick one. I mean, it's confusing enough with the daylight hours changing, sunrise and sunset changing every day. I mean, not dramatically, but throughout the year, it's like sunsets like at 4:35 p.m. during the winter, and then in the summer it's like 8:30. And sunrise, in parallel with that. But anyhow, I don't want to. Let me go ahead and get into. I love seeing everybody, but let me get into my thoughts. I didn't think I was going to talk about the OM1 today too much. I was just going to do my normal live stream. But when I got up this morning, I figured, it's been a week, so I changed the thumbnail because I do want to talk about it. And I have a link below as well. If you guys want to join me live, like be split screen with me, if you want to go through some questions or just talk about stuff. Initially, we'll do some Q&A on the OM1. Uh, but I'm sure many of you have seen the let me sorry, I need to fix my I'm sure many of you have seen my other two videos out, the one where I did a photo walk in Alexandria and I showed you the birds in flight. And I've upped my game though on that quite a bit. I'm getting much better. And like I said, it's all about your skill set and knowing how your camera works. So that's why I'm going to try and make some tutorials this week. Might be a little early to do a birds in flight tutorial because I'm still getting the hang of some of the settings and what works best. But uh, lost my train of thought. But what I was saying was, if you have any questions that are hard to articulate in the chat, you can just come online and join me. Or if you have the OM1 yourself, you can come online and tell me your first impressions, good or bad. We have to be real here, right? Because not everything is perfect or met everyone's expectations. And, there's, I think the biggest one was the perception about the two stops improvement in low light performance. And you know, I watched Jimmy Chang's video, and he was very specific. He said OM systems never claimed two-stop noise improvement. They just claimed a two-stop improvement in ISO. So what does that mean exactly? And it certainly wasn't in noise performance. Which doesn't surprise me at all. It surprised me when I read that, and the same thing in my mind clicked, right? Like, wow, two stops better noise. That's near full frame performance. And then when you get into the fine print, and I haven't seen it myself, but in the forums and things I read about, uh, you have to use the AI noise reduction in OM software, or uh, if you use handheld high res shot mode, you get a two-stop better improvement. So it's like there's this fine print to that two-stop improvement, right? But the reason I'm not surprised that the noise performance didn't go up, and this is something that I've talked about in other streams, is it's the same basic sensor technology we've had for forever since CMOS came out. And I think until there's a fundamental change in that sensor design, noise performance is not going to be that much different from camera to camera, year to year. Sure, when you look over a 10-year period, there's a lot of improvements there, whether it's in silicon wafer itself that they cut the chips out of, the sensors, or if it's, in the manufacturing process, but most likely it's more in the hardware side in terms of the analog digital converters and all of that high tech stuff, right? Reducing the noise floor in the camera and the micro lenses that they use. And BSI has been around a long time. Uh, and that's never shown a dramatic improvement in noise performance because they've been using BSI forever, especially in cell phones. And when they started putting the BSI in cameras, there's a tiny bit improvement. On the lower megapixel cameras, there's virtually none. On the very high megapixel cameras, you will see a little bit of improvement, but it's like you have to pixel peep and really you really have to pixel peep it to see it. Just a straight out of camera image, you're not going to be able to tell this is BSI, this was not. The stack sensor design is pretty awesome. That's really increased the processing speed of the camera and the ability to do the high speed shooting and the high speed autofocus and all of that. So that's a very, very significant change in the camera. The other main improvements, the headlines, the EVF is much better. Live view, the menus, weather sealing's now got a higher rating. And like I said, the overall performance of the camera is really amazing. So there's so many improvements over the Mark III that I think for the sports wildlife person, photographer, this would be a substantial upgrade for you. For the street shooter, you know, casual photo walking guy, walk and talk like me, right? EM10 Mark II. Seriously. I mean, you can go back 5, 6 years and get excellent image quality out of an Olympus EM10 Mark II that I wouldn't say rivals the OM-1, but close enough for a third the price or a fraction of the price at this point, right? Put your money in lenses. Don't buy this camera because you're not trying to fire off 120 frames per second. You just want to get one, right? And putting your money in lenses is a much better. Your money will be much better spent that way. But sports wildlife, okay. So, um, man, I am so impressed with the animal detect, the bird detect, the plane detect. It does planes and helicopters. I found out if you saw my photo walk. And with the animal detect with Ellie, it is spot on. So let me show you some images here. And see, which one is it? No, no, that's oh yeah, this is better. I like it when the chat window's kind of over here, but then I'm not in the picture. What the hell? Well, I'm behind the screen, so it doesn't matter. Well, I'd rather you guys see the chat window rather than me. Um, I just have to change the screen. You guys are looking at my app here for streaming. 1 second. Hi, Mary. Enter. Yeah, there we go. Now, what you're looking at here actually is files from almost 2 years ago. What, exactly 2 years ago, March 5th, right? Well, it's just a hair over when I got my EM1 Mark III, and I did the same kind of testing. And the new OM workspace has shows you the focus point, right? I believe. Maybe it's always done that, but I never really paid attention to it. Well, let's go through a series of her running. Let me change this to JPEG so it. Oh, there's no JPEGs. All right, fine. Uh, I'll make this a little bigger. Here's a sequence. She's in this corner. All right, here's where the sequence starts, right? You can see the sequence number 1. And I was not using the tracking, I don't believe. I don't think the EXIF will tell me if it was on or not. I think I was just using single point. I was doing continuous autofocus, sequential low, and auto ISO. I think that's all it's going to tell me. Yeah, so anyway, so I was using a group, right? A 3x3 or a 5-point cross in the center. And, you know, I can nail that pretty easily. And I'd say that got her pretty well. But if you look at uh, this whole series, see how it's over to the left? Let's see, center. Let's see if that nailed it or not. Yeah, that got her. That got her. That got her. Um, I don't like how OM Workspace jumps around when you pick one picture, but then it jumps down to another. So we're good. She's not moving side to side, left to right. So it was very easy for me to track her manually with my eye and just using the cross point or grid point. Let's see what happened here. Still close enough. I mean, it did back focus slightly, which is evidenced by the focus point. Actually, it looks like it focused on her sweater more. Yeah, her face is a little blurrier than her sweater there. But you get the idea, right? This is the EM1 Mark III. And then here's another track. And you can see the focus points are just, let me see if I can make that a little bigger for you. Oh, that's too big, right? Let's do that. You can see it missed here. That's because this camera doesn't have total miss here. Look how blurry she is. Doesn't have animal detect. And I haven't gone through and counted, how many were in focus, how many were not. This was a total miss also. And then I had to run out again. And again, I'm just using cross point. And you can see I'm having a hard time even with cross point. The camera is going over here instead of on her face. Um, Look at that. It's way back here now. Let's see if that missed. Yeah, total miss. All right. So I did this a lot. I had to run back and forth. And, you can see it's constantly missing. Here's another run back and forth. So without the subject detect, you need a very high skill set to capture, right? And let's go to, yeah, March 2020. This is right around when I bought my my EM1 Mark III. So I can't believe it's been 2 years. I feel like I just got this camera. Let's go to this year. Oh no, these were my high-speed shutter tests. Okay. So I'm having a run. Let's see. Did I have subject at some point? I didn't have subject detect on, or maybe I had to. I had to have it on for these, right? I'm going to organize these for you guys and just make a comprehensive video. This is just a preview of what's been going on. And I'm pretty sure I had the 12 to 40 Pro. Let me just double check. Yeah, 12 to 40 Pro lens. And so anyway, the first shot, it didn't see her. Come on, stop jumping around. The second shot, it didn't see her. By the third shot, and we're talking a fraction of a second, it found her. And then, as I go down, and let me back this off to 3. And I can close this window. We don't need that. But once it found her, got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, every single shot, 100% nailed it. Oh, right here it missed. Let's see. Let's punch in and see if it really missed. I mean, at this point, the depth of field is where it doesn't really matter. But she's still a little bit blurry. It focused over here on the leaves, it looked like. We got, let's see. Come on, show me the focus point. We got 1, 2, 3. Let's go up one more. Let's say from here, from number 23 to, why isn't it showing the focus point? Maybe it didn't have one. Yeah, so from number 23, let's say to number 33, so 10 shots. 10 shots, that's about 1/5 of a second. Because I'm at like 25 frames per second, 10 of those, so a half a second. So for a half a second, it lost her. And then it picked her up again. Bang, 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 all the way through. No issue at all. And this is what I mean. I'm gonna do a video and you know, make a chart and make it a lot more visible. Let's see, we're still in the same sequence. No, we're in a new sequence. So this sequence here, 34, 37, every single shot. And let's just spot check one, just to make sure. Roll workspace operating at top speed. Yeah, that looks good. Looks like focus all the way from here to here. And oops, I finished the sequence. So this sequence went 35 shots, and then I started a new sequence. 35 shots, nearly 100%. Let's see the second sequence. 18, 22, 34, 35, 39. Every single shot. 43, 52, 58. Okay, then a new sequence. So let's check the last one, spot check it. Yeah, perfect. So there's 59 shots in a row. I'd say 100%. I mean, I'm going to look at each individual one more closely before I do the video and make sure that's 100%. But just spitballing it here, that's 100% hit rate, right? And then I did another sequence. And again, you can see, spot check it here. This is frame number 43. Oh, it back focused slightly on this one. He's a little bit blurry. Let's go to the next frame. Did it get her? Nope. So this is what I mean. I'm gonna pixel peep these. I got hundreds of images, right? Which is not hard to do. That's like two that's like about, 30 seconds of photos, but I'm gonna work on this for you guys and let you know how it did. Let's spot check another one. Frame number 24. Yeah, good job. That looks good. What's my shutter speed? I should be, yeah, 1/1000th. Tiny bit of motion blur. But you get the idea. Let me check the comments real quick. I'll go back to my frame here. Okay. So pretty impressive, right? I mean, I just could not believe the hit rate. It's way, way better. I mean, the EM1 Mark III, the way I was doing it before, like with the cross point continuous autofocus, a third to half were probably misses. This one, I mean, just spitballing, it looks like 100%, but when I pixel peep, I can see one or two slightly out, and I'll have to distinguish between motion blur and focus. So I might do the test again tomorrow when it's warmer. uh, and so that with a faster shutter speed, so I can eliminate this shutter speed. Aperture, let me see. Somebody was asking about aperture. F4. F4 on that sequence. Let me see. On this sequence, yeah, I think I was at F4 for most of it. But I'll work all that out before I publish a video. All right. Yeah, the E5 is beautiful. That's true. Dinesh, how you doing, Dinesh? I feel like I think you're posting to the my group on Flickr, right? You posted those images of the Bali where everybody was covered in chalk and that colored chalk. Those were great. I think this Dinesh here. Um, yeah, I'll look into that. That's something else I need to figure out because OM Workspace has some new features. Because I think Focus Point was always part of Workspace at some point, but it's the grouping that's new, right? And then Marco says, what's more impressive than the tracking working so fast is that it's locking the point that's only a tiny fraction of the sense. Yeah. And if you saw the videos, you can see when she goes out of frame and back into frame, it picks up just like that. I mean, 1 second delay, maybe. If that, it's, fraction of a second. And then, yeah, this was Christine's question about the aperture you used in the sequence. Like I said, I think it was f4 for most of it, if not all. And she says, I guess a good test one would have to shoot wide open, wouldn't one? Results matter, not just where the focal point sits. Yes, that's what I mean. I'm going to have to pixel peep all of them. Because, if I'm shooting at f8, the depth of field is going to be so wide anyway. It wouldn't matter where the focus point is sometimes. I mean, you can tell, but so yeah, maybe I have to redo these with at f2.8. And someone had asked me to try and do a longer lens because I was shooting at 40 millimeters, right? They were asking me to do a longer lens, but I don't have any fast primes. I have a 45 millimeter f1.8, and by fast, I mean that's fast, but the autofocusing motor is not that fast on that lens. I don't know how well it would perform with this kind of test, but I'll try. I have the 75 1.8, which is pretty fast, but um, the distance that I can throw a stick versus her position in the frame is a little bit more challenging for me, right? Uh, so in that case, I don't know, but I'll try it with the birds and stuff. My 75 1.8, I'll try it with the birds in flight. So that's, of course, then they'll be too small, right? You really need a 300 millimeter for birds in flight. So the 75 1.8 has got potential. I think the motors are fast enough to track something moving quickly. But I'm gonna try. I'll try. It's gonna be beautiful weather this week, I believe. So I'm gonna take the camera out as much as I can and do all kinds of testing for everyone. Because if you're on the fence about this camera, but you're thinking about it for sports action wildlife and the subject detect tracking in particular, you want to know how it really works, right? With a variety of lenses. The only pro lens I have is the 12 to 40 and 8 millimeter fisheye. I don't have like a 40 to 150 2.8 or a 300 f4. I don't have any of the prime pro lenses. I just don't have a need for them, and they're so freaking expensive. I might go with a 300 f4, like a used one. I've seen those for less than 2,000, but that's going to take some time. It'll go faster if you guys donate. Just kidding. I appreciate donations though, but I'll get one a lot faster, that's for sure. But anyhow, excuse me. Um, let's see. Asking what does back focus mean? Meaning a focus behind, right? So if I'm focusing on me, on my eye, but it focuses on my ear instead, that's back focus. Front focus is the opposite. If I'm focusing on my eye, but it focuses on my hand up here, that's front focusing. That's all. It's not very cryptic. It's pretty straightforward what it means. Uh, does Lightroom show the focus point? It does not. Not that I've seen. Every image I've pulled up in Lightroom does not show the focus point. So that's a proprietary EXIF data, right, to the file. So unless Lightroom adds that to their uh, raw import, but I've never seen them do it for any camera, to be honest. Would you have to employ an assistant stick or throw, perhaps? No, because Ellie would she would not tolerate. I'm the only person she likes. Everyone else she tolerates. But if they're throwing a stick at her, she'd probably attack them. Okay, on a side note, a viewer, I forget his name or her name, told me what kind of dog she is. Apparently, because I've seen pictures of dogs that look exactly like Ellie, randomly here and there on the internet. So I always suspected she was a very specific breed and not a mutt because she has very distinctive markings. She has a white stripe on the back of her neck and she has nice coloring on her paws and tippy tail, right? And someone recognized her and said, "That looks just like my dog." Anyway, she's a mountain cur, C-U-R. And David Tellett told me what that meant. I didn't know what that means aggressive. Mountain cur. And then I read the traits of what a mountain cur is on various, dog sites. Fits her to a T. I mean, it's exactly her personality and temperament and everything. So she's a mountain cur, so I'm excited about it. Now, what was I talking about before I got off on that tangent? Um why does back focus happen? I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's like it's sort of like getting a false positive on on a focus, right? You push the shutter button, the camera thinks it's locked focus, but you're looking at it, the screen, right, and it's blurry, right? It's the same reason that happens is the reason you get back focus. And that yeah, actually, let me talk about that too. There have been reports of there have been reports of people having S-AF single autofocus issues with this camera where they would have pressed the shutter button or take the picture. It thinks it's locked focus because you get the green light and the confirmation beep, but then when you look at the image, it's blurry and out of focus. Uh, and I've seen a couple of reports of that, and a guy in the MU43 forums, you'll see a thread on MU43 about it, and it has links to other threads about this issue. Most of us are not having that issue, right? Because we're all trying to help the guy out. And I'm not having this issue. I'm sure Jimmy and Peter and everyone else that has this camera that I know of has not had this issue. I was not able to duplicate this problem. And so just be aware of that. So he's gonna exchange it at the camera store he bought it at if they have another one in stock. But what he has to do is turn the camera off, turn it back on, and then for a little while it locks on focus, no problem, but then it loses focus again. So that's another thing I'll be testing this week is staying in single point autofocus and taking a bunch of pictures and see if at any point the focus starts to drift. When I did my photo walk last week in Alexandria, that's all I did was single point autofocus and everything was fine. And this was in low light. So if it didn't happen there, it's unlikely to happen. It's unlikely I'll be able to duplicate the problem that he's having, which indicates this might be an issue. They call it quality control issue, but it might be just a certain batch, like, serial number 1500 to 1800. These 300 cameras have this one issue. And that happens time to time, right? In any product. So I put my manufacture date, which was January 6th of 2022, in the forum, and I said, okay, make a note of the manufacture date. I don't want people putting their serial numbers online, but you can put your manufacture date. Maybe we can start to get a feel for where the issue is, because sometimes companies won't admit there's a problem, and then they but they're quietly fixing things, right? And it might be just a firmware update to fix the issue, maybe. Uh, and I had one weird issue where I was trying to change the autofocus in the menu and it got stuck. I wasn't able to move or change something. So what I did is I rotated the front dial to go to a different menu. So it did go to a different menu, but so I went to a different menu, came back, and then I didn't have any issue. So I don't know what caused that. I haven't been able to duplicate that since. But that was a very strange moment where for a few seconds the dial wasn't responsive. So Did I accidentally do I don't know. I don't know. So I'm keeping an eye out for that. Uh, I'm trying to think, was there anything else that was weird? Nothing else comes to mind. That was the only weird thing that I found with me personally, and the other thing is something I read online but have not been able to duplicate. Oh, sorry, I popped this question up because I wanted to make sure I got it. How do you disable the shutter button while using ALBFF? Thanks for waiting for mine. Oh, okay. Um, let me go on the menu real quick. I'm not like 100% familiar with the menu, but I did do what you're talking about. Let's see. Um, Damn it, I dropped some. I already dropped something. All right. Okay, not there, not there. I set it up to do that for me. Just okay, you want to go into that's close. That's the AEL button. The timer, drive mode, no. Stabilizer, no. Computational modes, no. Yeah, it's in the autofocus menu. So I'll just show you. So go in the autofocus menu, the first one, number 1, and there's a line item there. There's a line item here, right? Oh, come on. So I'm in the AF menu, number 1. See, that's the shooting computational. Then you go into the AF menu, AF by half pressing. Click on that, and then you can choose yes or no. And then it's going to disable the half pressing the shutter button for autofocus and just use the AF on button. Okay, go back to me. I'm over here. All right, that was an easy one. Oh, that wasn't you, Dinesh? I'm sorry. Oh, no, I think his name was Rahul. I'm sorry. Wow, I just grouped all the Indian names together. Sorry. His name was Rahul. You're right. His last name might have been Sharma. No, probably not. I think it was Rahul though. Uh, well, Serge is here. Hey, Serge. Wow, you're really getting your processing down on your images. Your woodland photography images, very moody. I like it. And I'm just making sure I got the chat here. Oh, Leon is here. How you doing, Leon? I hope everything's going well. Um, I know a little bit about the histories. I won't talk about it, but you got the 25 millimeter f1.8 with hood for just $97. Yeah, that is a cracking deal. I paid like 350 for mine, I think, used, or 300. Man, like 3 times that price. Wow, that's cracking. And then Lasipa says, cannot believe how responsive to noise software the OM1 raw images are. I took one at ISO 10,000 image and cleaned it up really well. In Lightroom and Denoise AI, I will put, okay, great. Yeah, the denoising in OM Workspace is pretty awesome. Not as good as DxO, but better than Topaz, in for Olympus files, obviously. Raw files only. It's a little tricky though, because they apparently you need an NVIDIA processor to use the AI noise reduction. And I know NVIDIA, Marco can probably answer this better. Um, but there's coding in the NVIDIA processor that developers can use to take advantage of the processing power of the NVIDIA chip. And apparently that's what OM Workspace is doing, is taking advantage of the uh, getting access to the CPU, the NVIDIA CPU, to process the images. Because, graphic cards are designed to process graphics, and digital files are basically graphic files. But yeah, maybe Marco can answer that a little better. And I suspect Micro Four Thirds over full frame says, I suspect the focusing issue that guy's having might be the focus limiter. I suggested that. I suggested the focus limiter, the manual focus clutch, uh, the autofocus release priority, and those are the three things I suggested might be the issue, and we've eliminated all of those. Because that happened to me. I assigned my, I did the same thing you did. I set my limiter to one of the buttons, and I was randomly hitting it while I was shooting, and I was like, why? Why? And then, it's user error. But yes, those are the three things, including focus limiter. Yeah, I think he's done the full reset as well. Because what doesn't make sense is that you turn the camera off and turn it on, and then it's focusing fine, then the focusing drifts again. That's what that's what's weird. Oh, System Nature is here. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can get serial numbers off eBay. I've never had to do that, but if I needed a serial number for something, you know, they're easy enough to find. That's true. I'm just saying, for people that have a brand new OM1 and they're not trying to sell it, uh, don't publish your serial number online. I don't know what people can do with that number, but maybe register the camera in their name. I don't know. But it's, the less information you put online, the better. It says, I found the 35 to 100 f2 works better with SAF on my M1 2 than my Mark 1, OM1. Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely need to do more testing. And that is the Panasonic lens, 30, well, a 35 to 100 f2. If you mean f2.8, I know Panasonic makes one, right? But I'm not familiar with that lens either way, whether it's something else or if it's that Panasonic one. Oh, Ulf is here. How you doing, Ulf? He says hi to everybody. And oh, Marco chimed in here. I believe OMDS is using NVIDIA. Yes. Oh, you're Raul. Okay, so that you're the one posting the photos of Bali, Druid? Is that you? I thought those were great. Let me tell you something. Indians know how to party, man. I'm serious. When I used to work at a school where there was a lot of Indian clients, um, Man, all they talked about was food and partying. That's that's that was most of our conversations. Oh, congratulations. Hopefully it's working well. And like I said, I have a link below to uh join me live if you guys want to talk about your impressions of the camera now that you have one. I'm sure everyone would love to hear it. Oh, the old 4/3 lens. Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm not familiar with it. I don't know, I didn't get into Olympus until the EM10 Mark II. I'm not that familiar with the 4/3 lenses. And John Follows is here. I had a similar random problem on my EM1 too and cured it by just taking the lens off and replacing it. Yeah, this person, he tried, if you're referring to the focus drifting, he's tried different lenses. And the lens he had on in the demo was a 12 to 40 Pro, but he's tried different lenses, he said. So we've tried to work, help him out as much as we can and eliminate all the variables. So it's looking more like it's the camera itself than anything else. Oh, false call. Okay. Well, anyway, there is some great images on the Flickr group, the Rob Trek community, and on Flickr, and there were some images there, and I could be totally off. Let me just pull it up. I'm gonna look at it real quick. Groups and our community photos. Good. I mean, these are awesome. Steve. Well, everybody sends in great images, but I love these balloons from Steve. And this is Serge. Like I was talking about his your woodland photography is really, really picked up, I think. You've got the processing down. I remember when you were first starting that and it was looking good. Yeah, this one. Rahul Shavin. I assume this is Bali. I mean, I don't know that much about anything, cultures and things, but whenever I see people covered in colored chalk, it's always a Bali thing. Uh yeah, like I love this image. I didn't even hit like yet. I thought I did. There we go. That's a great image. Okay. um and more info on OM Workspace. It uses CUDA and you need the latest version of CUDA. Yeah, the CUDA cores and all that. 'Cause they added some other kind of like AI coding into it as well in the newer generation of CUDA that Lightroom Photoshop is taking advantage of for some of its neural type filters. And I guess OM Workspace, they have they must have hired a CUDA developer to come in and beef up the workspace. They still got a long way to go though, because workspace is pretty brutal. Oh, that is you. Okay. So that's not Bali then. That's something else? Okay. I'm so confused now. Thank you. Tensor cores. Those are the ones that are supposed to be like the AI neural, you know, and it's very early stages though. I'm sure over time it'll get better. They'll be able to cram more of those in. I'm not sure if my 2060 has the 10. I think it does. The 2060, it's the RTX. Because the GTX didn't have the tensor cores, but the RTX does, is what I understand. Oh, hey Adam, how are you? I got your email. Hopefully, I did respond to that, but thank you very much. It's very kind of you to send that email. Okay, Druid said it's not Bali. It's from a festival with turmeric powder is used and thrown around. Yeah, you guys know how to party. That's for sure. So, see, what do I know about culture, right? I just see colored chalk or turmeric powder, and I'm like, hey, that's Bali, right? I don't know how you guys can like not get it in your eyes and sting, and I just didn't understand that. But you see these events, and I'm just gonna call them events because it could be anything apparently. They're just covered. Oh, okay. Marco says NVIDIA has done a good job seeding academia with GPUs to get students. Yes, they are very active. They're working with manufacturers. It doesn't surprise me they're working with students. And RTX have RT and Tensor, but OMAI works with the 1080 Ti, which doesn't. Oh, that's interesting. So it's not using the Tensor cores, it's using just the CUDA. I know we're getting so technical, at least for me. After this week, do you think your photography is going to change now with the OM-1? Yes, definitely. I'm going to be doing more uh, wildlife. Definitely. I was never a huge fan of it before, but now that the AF just makes it so easy, I'll probably do more birding and airplanes. Those two things. And I'd like to do some cars, but I don't have a lot of racetracks around here. I have to drive like a couple hours away to go to a racetrack, but that would be kind of fun too. So I'm definitely going to add those things. They still won't be my core photography. I'm still going to be more of the street photo walking guy. But definitely going to be some more. So once I get my birding down and wildlife down, the 300 f4 is in my future. Definitely. Oh, Plato's here. How you doing, Plato? And let's see. This is mature. It says waiting for the OM1 on a UK pre-order, but unfortunately not expecting. Wow, for several weeks. Hope it will solve the focusing problem on long distance small bird shots. Yes. I will do some more videos though on the bird tracking. The one that I did, the other day was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Uh, but I'm gonna do more and really test it. Because that day that I went out, I wasn't, I had two cameras on a setup. I'm holding two cameras, and then I got my rig with the field recorder on it. It was not easy trying to do bird photography, holding two cameras and a field recorder. On top of that, my vlogging camera and my, bag, right? So I was kind of loaded down, and my plan was that day when I did that vlog was to go out and do mainly side by side comparisons of the M1 Mark III and the OM1, gather some images because everybody was pushing, everybody was like going crazy about the two stop improvement in ISO. And I did a bunch of studio shots, which I need to make a video for that. But someone had asked, can you do some real life shots, right? Don't just do a studio shot. So I took the two cameras out to do those. So I have a bunch of inventory now for some real life shots that I'm going to edit and see if I can squeeze out better performance out of the OM1 in terms of noise reduction and all of that than I can with the M1 Mark III. I mean, the general consensus though seems to be that the noise performance is about the same, maybe slightly better at the higher ISOs, like you get to 6400, 25,000. It's definitely better. It's definitely better at color. That's the most significant improvement I've seen was very significant improvement in retaining colors, which in turn would imply you're getting better details. And also the push-pull, pushing three stops, like shadow recovery, highlight recovery is definitely improved at higher ISOs. At base ISO, I didn't see much difference myself, but that's the gist of it, But I will do the best I can to test, those kind of scenarios and give you my opinion on what I think. Overall, yeah, it's doing a better job. Long story short, the OM-1 is doing a better job than the EM-1 Mark III for very specific situations, it seems. For base ISO type photography, no, if you're shooting like under ISO 800, under 1600, I don't think you're going to see any difference. But I think it's when you get into the higher ISOs, that's when you start to see some separation. And he says, I recommend the 100 400 for you. As a 300 f4, you have to zoom with your feet. Yeah, that's okay. I am debating between those two, though. Being able to zoom is a huge advantage. And I'm really only losing about a stop of light, maybe a stop and a half on the long end, right? But I can get a used 300 for a little bit more than a brand new 100 to 400, and I think the 300 is a sharper lens. Yeah, let me talk about the audio. If you look at any vlog that I have done in Alexandria, the audio is always terrible. It's because that frickin' town is so loud, constantly airplanes flying over. So that's why whenever I talk, it sounds like I'm out in outer space, like an astronaut communicating back to Earth, because the audio from the airplanes flying over every 2 minutes, and within that 2 minute window, you can still hear them, but they're flying over constantly. Uh, and I've tried a separate recorder, recording separately into a separate, microphone recorder. I've tried plugging directly into the camera. I've tried, and then of course I use the wireless mic. The wireless mic, yeah, the audio quality is not as good as plugging directly in, but the difference is very subtle. A little post-processing, and you can't tell the difference between the wireless mic and the audio from the camera. But whenever I'm in Alexandria, every single vlog I've done there has been absolutely horrendous. Uh, I mean, it's never great, right? No matter what I do, but it's just unbearable. That's why the vlog was very short, because I had about a 2 minute rant at the end, but the audio was so bad, you couldn't, I didn't want to put it in there. Uh, in the vlog, for the video, because the audio was so bad, and the video was bad too, because by then it was really dark. So it was bad video and bad audio, and I was like, you know what? I mean, you might forgive bad video long as the audio is clear, but bad audio and bad video combined. So I cut about 2 minutes of that vlog out, but I saved it for myself because I can't remember now, but I woke up that day with a really amazing dream. I just had this really outlandish dream where I was some kind of super, like, secret agent, like 007, and I was shot, and I had all these government secrets. I don't know what it was. It was some crazy. I had this whole spiel at the end while I'm walking back to my car about this dream, uh, which I recorded, and I can hear it, but I'm not going to publish that because the audio was just so bad. And who cares what my dreams are, right? I just thought it'd be something kind of neat to add at the end, but it was so bad. Anyway, Randy says the 300 Pro is sharper by buckets. Okay, so that pretty much nails it for me then. I'll probably get the 300 f4. Okay. I would recommend. Okay, I got that. Mike loves his 100 to 400. Yeah, so does David Crooks. David loves that lens. I have the 75 to 300, which is not as sharp as your lens there, but if I'm going to step up, I'm going to step up. I think you should get out to your local motor racing circuit and do some real. Yeah, like I said, it's a couple hours away from me. They have them out in West Virginia. Um, and I was going to go today with David Crooks, but they canceled it because of the snow. It's like 21 degrees outside right now, which is minus 10 Celsius or 11 Celsius, something like that. Or yeah, crazy cold. All right. Congratulations, you're going to get it uh very soon, hopefully. And lenses, definitely get the 12 to 40 Pro if you don't have it already. That's like bread and butter, man. A 12 to 40 Pro and the OM-1, and then the 40 to 150 f4, I think will be a nice complement, and you'll be ready for anything. The 40 to 150 f4 Pro is not out yet, but it's on my short list. But a 300 f4, I would get that before. There's so many lenses I need to get other than. And if anybody wants to buy my EM1 Mark III, just email me. I'll look at what the current prices are on eBay and go a little bit below that and throw in an extra battery. I have two original Olympus batteries for it, and the base plate, the L bracket. Um, I'll throw in some stuff. But anyway, um, because next weekend my local camera store is having a trade-in event, and they're going to give an extra 10% towards your trade-in. At which point, it almost makes sense for me to do that. Um, then sell it on eBay because eBay takes off 12% plus shipping and insurance. It's just eBay's expensive way to sell stuff. But if one of you guys buy it, I can take $100 off, like 10%, right? And still come out ahead of selling it directly on eBay or trading it into the camera store. I'll still come out ahead and then you get a good deal, right? So probably by next weekend, I may not have my M1 Mark III anymore. Rob is Trek. Rob Trek, that's funny. You're funny. And this makes amazing moonshots. Yeah. Well, the 2X teleconverter is like another $400, you know? Let's not get carried away. I'm already in the hole with this OM1. I've been going through all my mail with all these credit card offers, 0%. Uh there's another one. There's another. Yeah, all these 0% offers. Trying to figure out how I can delay delay the payments on this best I can because it's definitely getting financed. Um, yeah, Randy agrees. That's going to be a great combo. Sell the Panasonic S5. I'm not ready yet because that S5, the video on that is really amazing. I haven't tested the video quality on the OM1 yet. I'm going to, but I have not done it yet. Um, so once I compare those files, then I'll make a decision. Because I use the S5 for all my paid jobs. I don't use it for anything else other than my property videos. Now I used the M1 Mark III for a couple of years, for about a year before I got the S5. And that did a fine job, but the quality in the shadows and things, because in properties, a lot of times the lighting's not great. It's a little rough. I had to really work to get that, well, to get the videos to look decent, if or passable. And I wasn't happy with it. The client was happy. They don't know jack. It just goes on YouTube. But I was a little bit disappointed. And someone suggested just use the HDMI out and record raw. I ain't setting up a huge rig. You know what that rig would look like? Let me show you. This this is what it would look like, and then you have the camera mounted onto this gimbal like this. And then I got this whole gimbal mounted onto a monopod, or if not a monopod, then it's on a, whatchamacallit, um, the thing with the three wheels. My vocabulary is not very good today. But yeah, that someone suggested I just output raw, and I'm like, no, I ain't doing all of that just to record raw. The S5, I don't need any of that, and I can get an excellent image in camera. I can get an excellent image in camera. I still use a lot of that stuff, but not that whole thing. But the S5, it may go on this chopping block though. If the image quality, because this has the OM-1 now has 4-bit, 420 10-bit internal with no record limit, which is not critical, but the fact that it creates a single file is nice. So that's something I might get into. I'll let you know. I'll do a video test as well and post that. And then the OM system lens that would be great for wildlife video would be the 25 to 250 f6.3 throughout. Internal zoom movement would not be, yeah. Ugh. It wouldn't be too expensive though. I mean, f6.3? Right now I got a 150. I assume you're talking about equivalent focal lengths, not Micro Four Thirds, because Micro Four Thirds would be 50 to 500. I mean, they could do that for $1,000, maybe 1,500. I don't know. Going to Berlin in May, I take 2 small primes of the 12 to 40 Pro. I would do the 12 to 40 Pro and the 40 to 150. Yeah. You'll never take that 12 to 40 Pro off, except for the rare instance you want some reach. I just say that because when I went traveling, I don't travel out of anywhere really, but when I was traveling down to Shenandoah, not Shenandoah, not the Rockies, was it? Anyway, when I went into the mountains in Tennessee, what's the name of those freaking mountains? It's part of Shenandoah, but you go further south. Uh, I don't know why. I didn't have breakfast, so my brain's not working. Um, I put the 12 to 40 Pro on, and that's all I use for about 90% of my shots. I didn't even worry about using a prime. Oh yeah. Yeah, they send it now. So that doesn't affect me too much because I always reported the stuff anyway. Um but what makes it difficult is now I have to try and reconcile everything exactly, right, to the penny. That's the only problem with getting a 1099 is now, I would get really close. I was probably 100% accurate. I mean, I better say that online, right? But it makes it a little more challenging to make sure you get everything 100% accurate. My records versus what eBay reports. And then you have to be able to separate stuff to where you're just decluttering your house. I mean, versus stuff you sell that you wrote off before. It's, it's complicated. It makes it complicated when you get a 1099. Because before I was able to separate, sometimes I'm just decluttering my house. I'm selling this, selling that. It's just junk, right? But when I sell anything that I bought for business, I have to claim that as income. So I reported that. But getting a 1099, now I have to separate that. I haven't done it yet. I need to do my taxes this month and see how that, hopefully TurboTax has all that figured out and I can just upload my stuff and it'll be fine, but we'll see. Thank you. The Smoky Mountains. Golly. Smoky Mountains, that's where I went. 12 to 40 Pro. Blue Ridge Mountains. Yeah, it's all part of the same, but specifically I went to the Smoky Mountains. Perhaps an additional large aperture pro lens, like a mid-range 25 or perhaps a Laowa. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I brought everything with me and I never needed anything else for what I was doing. There's a 113 of the bird video on your own, and when you pan up there looks to be a blotch on. Yeah, I think it's the lens. I haven't checked it since that video, but you're right. Because my 75 to 300's, old, right? I've had that for a few years now. So I'm going to clean the lens because I don't get that blotch on anything else. But I haven't looked for it. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. I guess I can check it now. I got a card in here. Let me crank it up to F something. Come on. Go to F22. Zoom in and has a couple of dust spots, but it's not that same blotch that was in the video. Good eye though, catching that. But it's man, how can there be sensor spots on this already? Of course, my 12 to 40 Pro was filled with water from top to bottom and then froze into ice. And then I had to dry it out for a month. I didn't touch it. But now there's water spots all inside this lens everywhere. So it's probably the lens causing the spots. Let me get another lens. This lens is pretty new. This is a Pancake 12 to 40 power zoom. '22. Yeah, this one doesn't have any spots or marks on it, so it's the lens. My 12 to 40, it's a little bit soft now. It's not quite as sharp as it used to be either, because of all of the water spots and stuff inside. Yeah, that's what I just did. I can show you guys. So people know what we're talking about, right? You So, ooh, it looks dark, but see, this is pretty clean, right? It's not that dark on my screen. I don't know why it looks so dark on here. Okay, this is the 12 to 40 Pro. See the spots all over the place? That's the lens. And then when I went to my 14 to 42, you can see the spots are not there, right? So before in this other lens. So most likely it's like 75 to 300. I just probably need to clean it, unless there's some fungus growing inside of it. Wouldn't surprise me. I've only had the dry cabinet about a year and a half, but I've had that lens for longer than that, so maybe. Don't get the 2x teleconverter. Didn't you just tell me it was great? I don't know. I'm not getting it anytime soon, either way. But I will, I will check with you guys or in one of the forums and see before I make a final decision on a teleconverter. I hear the 1.4 is good, and then that'll just put me at f5.6, but then give me, I don't know, whatever that math works out to be. Um, EM13 had defects, oil sensor threads on DP review. I've not encountered that issue, but I'll check. I haven't checked that camera. Let me see if that has it. Need a card. Oh, I got a new memory card too. I bought a Pro Grade UHS2, so I could do the testing for the Pro Capture and everything. No, it's clean. I don't see anything. IM1 Mark III. Clean as a whistle. Oh, wait. I can see a little spot there. It's clean. Yeah, there's no spots. That thing is clean. Okay. Good to know, right? In case somebody wants to buy it from me. This camera's been my workhorse camera. For the last 2 years. I've used it primarily for my paid jobs, except for the video. The last year I've been using my Panasonic. Some batch was defective, yeah. So mine wasn't part of that batch, apparently. I've never had an issue with spots or anything. My lenses, on the other hand, I've just abused those. Oh, okay. Robert is saying the same thing. 1.4 is great, but the 2x is soft. Interesting. Okay, so 2x is off my list. So maybe there's no difference between. Have you got some images taken with the 14 to 42 easy lens? Thinking of getting one for my EM10. Yes, I just took a bunch on the OM1 in Alexandria the other day. It's a fine lens. The only, I prefer the manual zoom lens, but this one is nice and compact. The problem with this one, in terms of workflow, I prefer the manual zoom. But the only problem with this lens, this is that the way it zooms in and out when you turn the camera on, like so, apparently the cables inside the lens come off with repeated, in and out. It's happened to me and it's happened to other people, right? Um, so if you want to now, problems in general are not common, right? Lenses are excellent, Olympus lenses. But if you're going to talk about problems in of itself, a common one is that the wires come loose inside, and the lens, you get this lens error, and you can't use it. So it's happened to me and at least two other people in, that are my viewers here. And one guy sent it out to get it fixed. It cost him $83. I never sent mine to get fixed. I just bought another one, and I haven't had any problems with that one, but I hardly use it. You know, I think actually, yeah, I've only used it a couple of times. Not because I'm worried about it breaking, but I prefer manual zoom. Another System Mature also says the 1.4 is better. Okay, so I'm sold on not getting the 1.4. Of course, Ulf, right? Your mileage may vary. Ulf is getting great results. Uh, yeah, a lot of people like the 14 to 42 easy lens, the one I was just showing you. I like how compact it is. I mean, look at the profile of the camera. It's very, very compact. So it makes travel real easy, especially on an EM10 or a Pen F. Perfect. Like I said, bread and butter on one of those. On an EM10, amazing. Wow, Wolf is doubling down. There's no difference between the 1.4 and the 2x. Maybe the 2x is sharper. Wow. But okay, can't believe no one wants to join in. But I'm going to put it out there every week. If you guys want to join in, split screen with me, I'm open to it. The new lens cap on the OM1 says OM system, doesn't say Olympus, but it says Olympus up here. Like how many different, logos and names can you put on a camera? That's cool. I'm glad it says Olympus. It just pulls at the heartstrings a little bit, right? Oh, Jeff Painter's here. Hi, Jeff. And think of buying the Olympus 75 to 300 for my EM10 Mark II. There's no compatible teleconverter. Yeah, you can't use any teleconverters with it. They have some very cheap Chinese made. Well, let me rephrase that. They have some very cheap ones that screw on the front that I don't recommend. If you see anything like that, don't buy it. It's just going to be so soft. That lens is not tack sharp to begin with. I mean, you get good images out of it, right? But if you take a lens that's not so sharp and add another lens on the front that's even less sharp and then magnify that by 2, uh, and lose some light, so you're increasing your ISO, you're basically fighting an uphill battle there. So your best bet really is that if you're going to shoot at 300 millimeters on that lens, stop it down to f8 or f9. I think f9 is a little better. And only shoot when you have good light, because as soon as you start cranking your ISOs up 1600, 3200, etc. When you take a not so sharp lens and you tack on noise, it's a train wreck. But that said, I've gotten excellent images out of it in good light. Very happy with it for the money. 400 bucks. I paid 400 bucks for it. But forget about even if they made a teleconverter for it, I probably wouldn't get it just for all of the reasons I mentioned. Um, let's see, Adam says maybe some problems with copies of the 2X teleconverter. Some have an issue with technique, may refuse to make it a human component. Again, maybe some issues with the copies. Most common is person part. Okay. Yeah, that's always a factor, right? If I were to go out and just start shooting birds in flight and get a lot of bad shots, I could blame the camera, but I know that's not the truth. The truth is I'm the one who's the problem, not the camera. So I'll just leave it at that. Oh, I think I saw that one, the rodeo. My memory fades after a while. I've been watching so many videos. Uh, I can't. I'm still not caught up. I still got some of Robin's and James Pops's and Roberto. Randy, I know you've had about 4 videos since I last watched one of yours. Um, man, just checking the chat here. So it sounds like nobody's ever had a problem with the 1.4x teleconverter. But I don't know. I'll start with the 1.4, and then if I'm really liking it, I'll try the 2.0. But I think the camera store had a 2x teleconverter for like 300 bucks, a used one. Uh, I don't know if it's still there, but that's the used price, basically speaking. Rob Trick, why do you stop down with your bird shots? Um, well, with that particular lens, wide open at 300 millimeters, it's a tiny bit softer than it is at f9. Wide open is f6.7. So we're really only talking about, let's see, 2/3 plus another third. We're talking about a one-stop difference, really, from 6.7 to f9. And if you're in good light, you're pretty much at low ISO anyway. So shoot at f9 and you'll get sharper images with that lens in particular. Um, when you're shooting at 75 millimeters on the wide end, you can shoot at f6.7 and it's tack sharp. And it stays pretty sharp, up to about 100, maybe 125 wide open. Once you start getting out to like 150 millimeters, 200 millimeters, 250, 300, that's when you need to stop the lens down. And I would even say pull back down to about 240 millimeters at f9, and you'll get really good results. Assuming you can fill. It's better to fill the frame than to zoom out and not fill the frame. So zoom out to 300 millimeters if you have to, but If you can fill the frame at 240 and f9, you're in good shape with that lens. So it's got nothing to do with the depth of field, if that's what you mean by deep look. Nothing to do with that. You're going to get a fairly decent shallow depth of field anyway at those kind of focal lengths. Oh, Marcia, how you doing in Florida? God, I'm so jealous. Yeah, the 1.4 TC is top notch. So I'll start there. So let's see. 1.4 times 300 gives me 420 millimeter equivalent times 2, which is 840 millimeter full frame equivalent at f5.6. That's pretty solid. Rob Trek, if you use AF on for back focus, is there another button you can assign to subject mode? Yes. I assigned the AEL button. No problem there. Um, so basically you go in the menu, right? And go over to buttons, button function. Yeah, I have AF on left for autofocus, but I have the AEL button assigned to subject detect. That's what I do, but you can assign other buttons, probably the ISO button too. Let's see. Yeah. You can assign subject detect to any of these buttons. I kind of went past it, but you get the idea, right? So now if I push the ISO button, it's hard to see with the text there. Hold on. I'm signing the ISO button and I can now change like that. I'll give you another angle. So here's the ISO button, right? If I push and hold the ISO button, I can change subject detect like so. And then AF on is still AF on. Okay. What else we got? Right along. Oh, wait. Sold mine. No. Yeah, sometimes the 400. So that's only 200 millimeters on micro four thirds. That's, yeah, it's a little short. Definitely. I feel your pain. That's why when I had my Nikon, I bought the 150 to 600 Sigma. And then I was getting decent reach, but sometimes even that still wasn't enough. Yes, I would say it's definitely, if you're not like, if you didn't build up a ton of muscle memory for the old menu system like I have, the new menu system is very good. I can see one or two areas they still need to tweak it though. It's too late now. It's already baked in. They're not going to change it. But I'll give you an example. Um, the movie menu has all the movie settings, but if you want to control focus for the movie mode, you have to go back to the autofocus menu. So there's a separate movie menu, there's an autofocus menu, and in the autofocus menu, you have to be careful that you're choosing autofocus for photographies or you're choosing autofocus for movies. If they would have just took the autofocus for movies out and put it in the movie menu, that would have been a better move. But maybe they could do it in a firmware update, but pretty much it's baked in to everything, right? It's going to be very difficult to move that's a very significant feature, autofocus in movie mode. it's going to be tough to move that out of the autofocus menu back into the movie mode. Not only technically, right? Technically, there's some challenges, right? Because everything's all linked together. It's a very well-oiled machine when it comes to designing menus, but they'd also have to change, like give updates to all their manuals, right? That they publish online and everywhere else that they might have, in every language, right? So by being baked in, I'm not talking only technically in the challenges there, but I'm also talking about on the user side of all their manuals and all the different languages that they'd have to. So it ain't gonna happen. Yeah, you agree on the AF placement, right? It makes sense to put the movie mode autofocus in the movie menu. And there's something else too that I found that oh, they should have, there's always something though, right? I mean, once you set the camera up into the custom modes and stuff, I rarely have to go into the menus because I'll assign a function button to something that I want to change. But um, the initial setting up and everything, it's like, and getting used to the menu system it's like you start to find these little things, and especially as a educator, right? If I'm going to start making videos on how to set up things in the menu, um, I have to I have to I have to give a way for people to remember where things are in the menu. And if it's not intuitive, right, it makes it harder for me as an educator. Here's a question. How do you find the ergonomics compared to the M13? Also, people seem to said there's too much plastic on the OM1. I don't I don't think there's any more plastic on the OM1 than there was on the EM1. I mean, the buttons are all plastic except the mode dial. Okay, there is a little more plastic. Okay, so this is where I see the plastic that wasn't on here, is the front and rear dials. I believe, let me do my skin test. Yeah, rear dial. If you put your skin on something, the metal will always be colder. Looks like I'm kissing my camera, right? The shutter button is metal. The front dial is plastic. So the front and rear dials here, what the hell? I hit the shutter button. Anyway, the front and rear dials are plastic, right? Because they're recessed into the body, as if the M10 is going to focus on this. But the front and rear dials are plastic, whereas on the OM1, EM1, these dials are metal, front because they're outside of the body. Uh, that's the only extra plastic, all right? Other than that, I don't see any difference. This button is plastic. On here, it's plastic. I'm looking at the front buttons on the front of the camera. These are all plastic. Shutter button is, yeah, shutter button's metal too. This is plastic, so I don't know what people are talking about. The only thing I see more plasticky is the front and rear dials. Uh, this is metal. I'm sorry, that's plastic. Other than that, it's exactly the same. The most significant ergonomic thing, there's really two things, right? And Jimmy mentioned one in one of his streams. I'm not sure I agree with him, but maybe he's right. Time will tell. Okay, I'll tell you what I think. But the placement of the front dial away from the shutter button, I think, is a big improvement for me because I'm adjusting the dial on the EM1. Sometimes I accidentally tap the shutter button when I didn't want to. And this is annoying, right? Half pressing the shutter button when you don't want to. By moving the dial down away from it, that reduces that risk quite a bit. Uh, the other thing, what was the other thing I like about it? I said there was three things, right? That was one. Okay, it's the front dial. I can't remember the second one now. Damn it. Front dial. Oh, the mic jack, right? Being up here. They moved the mic jack up higher up on the side. So now when I open the screen, I can rotate it around without bumping into the mic jack. So here's a mic, right? Mic jack. You can see now, right, that I can rotate the screen even though the mic jack is in there. I couldn't do that with the EM1. So those are the two main things in my opinion. Now the third one is something Jimmy noticed. I noticed it, but I thought it was a design thing. But he makes a very, he's making me think about it. But the left corner here is notched, right? And his theory is that that's to help give you a better grip with the thumb. Let me see if I can show that. See how that's notched? And on the M1, it's rounded. So he thinks that's for your thumb to give you a better grip when you're holding the camera. My guess, okay, my guess is that this is for uh, a more secure attachment for maybe an external cage of some kind, right? Or some accessory that they might add. Apparently not the grip, because the grip is out and it has nothing to do with this. But if you're holding the grip this way, this notch doesn't come into play, so it has nothing to do with the external grip. I'm guessing it might have to do with they're gonna make a cage for this, and that's gonna help secure the cage that wraps around the camera. My guess. I don't know. Jimmy's probably right. But yeah, the ergonomics, other than that, it's identical. Feels great in the hand. Let me see. Yeah. It's pretty much identical, just very minor change here with the front button. Last night I saw a video comparing the 300F4 and the 4150-28 with a 2X teleconverter, and I was really impressed with the results. Need to elaborate on that. Impressed how? Like better, was one lens better than the other, or were they pretty much the same? I'm curious. Randy. Yeah, don't put your lips on things in the desert. I got the Ollie red dot sight. Expensive. Finally, just practice pigeons in flight. Don't need the dot sight anymore. Yeah. Yeah, you get a feel for aiming, right? When you're doing birds in flight. Dot sight, I assume, is still helpful, but I bought a generic one that's made for actually a rifle. Uh, Broke it on the first day, but it was only like 30 bucks. It's right up here. This is a red dot sight that's made specifically for a rifle. And I got this adapter to mount it to a hot shoe on a camera. It was like 30 bucks. Um, but I was trying to adjust it too far, and I broke the little spring clip in here. I don't know why I was doing that. Uh, now I can't get it lined up anymore. So that's just 30 bucks down the drain unless I can figure out a way to fix it. I got these all these little screws in here. I don't know where they go back. You know, just dumb things that I do sometimes. But yeah, this dot sight thing might be a better shot of it. This is a Civ Bonnie, SV Bonnie. What's this, the receipt? No. But you can see there's a dot sight thing. It beams a laser out, I guess, onto the screen as a reflection. It's not too dissimilar from the Olympus one. And then this is the rail for the hot shoe mount. Fortunately, it's only 30 bucks, so I'm not out, you know, a shitload, but I'm not happy I did that. I guess I could buy another one. Kissing cameras is normal. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Yeah, like I said, it's bird photography, and like anything is you need to develop your skill set to get better images. Oh my God, I've never seen a 100 to 500, but I'm sure it's an awesome. I don't know, zoom lenses from that era have never been that good. I mean, there's a few exceptions, right, of zoom lenses made in the 70s and 80s that were decent, but the majority of zoom lenses from that era sucked. And that's why they're so freaking cheap. But if you see a zoom lens from that era that's expensive, then that's a good one. You get what you pay for in that case on the used market. Yeah, the hair trigger, no question. Uh, oh, the red dot sights for telescopes too. Yep, that makes sense. And you got a free one, huh? Wow. Yeah, the Canon Rebels, uh, not all Canon, the I series, you get a T5 or a T5i, the I has the articulating screen, but not the T5 itself. And any iteration, T7 versus T7i, the I's have the articulating screen. I mean, I'm not a Canon expert, but when I was shopping Canons, that's what I found. Yeah, Zuiko made some awesome lenses. There's definitely some sleepers out there. I don't know what they are. I have a Zuiko 35 to 100 f4. Um, I've only used it once though for on my OM-1 cameras, film camera. Shoot birds at night with a laser sight. Yeah. Says Coscom says I have the OM-1 and I went to a rugby game yesterday to try it out and I had a sequence of 18 images and only one was sharp. This isn't good compared to my EM1X. Have you any tips for setting up on focusing? Um yeah, I would okay, since there's no subject detect for people, but it does have face detect, which is not going to cut it for sports, you know, like soccer. What is it? A soccer game? People, right? Rugby game. I'm sorry. Uh, so your best bet really is to do continuous autofocus with a cross point or 9-point box and track it yourself with your own eyes. I don't know what the M1X did. You probably had to do the same thing with the M1X. I don't know why you're not getting good results with it though, because I've had awesome results with just the subject detect on my dog and birds, but I haven't tried it in a like a human sport, right? Um, but yeah, continuous autofocus, and make sure you have priority release turned off um in the AF menu, and because then, and the other thing I would try is turn on image stabilization priority um, as well. So image stabilization priority, autofocus release priority turned off. Use the cross point or 9 point. Well, it's not 9 point anymore, but use a cross point or a small box and track it yourself. Don't use the tracking in the camera because from what I've seen, and I'll test it myself, but from what I've seen, the normal tracking mode without subject detect is not good. So, but I can't imagine EM1X is any better in that respect. But I don't have an EM1X to any experience with that camera at all. So those are the only tips, and those are very generic tips, right? Those are tips anybody could give you. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful than that. I just have never shot sports. I've never shot sports, and I don't shoot a lot of people either. It's not my area, but that's the best I can do for you, Coxcomb. But I'm surprised that you had any issues. Because if you're already familiar with the M1X, you probably know how to shoot people in rugby games, right? So I would think the OM1 would just be better. I'm not sure what's different. Is there cluster focusing? Oh, that's a good question. I can try it. Let me put a lens on. I remember how to use it. I rarely use it. Like I said, I've never been sort of an action guy. Uh, cluster focus. So if I do this, if I remember how to do it on the M1 Mark III, and then I can set to all focus points. And I turn on tracking. Where is it? Continuous autofocus plus tracking. Okay, so let me show people what cluster point is first, for those that don't know. Actually, this is not a common, it's not a common focusing mode. I think a lot of people have overlooked this. Uh, and then I'll try it with the OM1. I just had to see if I could do it on the EM1. Okay, so cluster focus is basically, the green screen is on, but it's hard to see. In this case, it's the blue dots. You see how it's tracking it? Like I'm pointing it at the EM10 Mark II there. That is my vlogging cam. See how it's tracking that? That's cluster focus. All right, so let's try it with the OM1. I do the same thing. So I go into the super control panel. I gotta activate. I turn that off in the menu too. Pointer on, face on, scanner, movie. Here it is. Settings. So let me turn that on. That didn't work. Okay, tracking is sucks as usual, but let me put it on the screen. I bet if I change my screen to, let me try something real quick. You guys can see this better. Mouse. Change my screen to green. And go here. Oh, I am here. And then switch. How does that look? It looks awful. Okay. All right, so this is the M1. This is the OM1 here. I have exposure comp way off here. Let me dial it down. And I do, see, this is the tracking. See how it lost it? But I go in, just make this CAF. It is not, it is not doing cluster focus anymore. So my initial answer is no, it does not do cluster focus. At least not in the same way that the M1 Mark III, the way I turned it on in the M1 Mark III, it's not the same. Weird that the old 4th, really, yeah, everything is high. It's crazy. Marcia says, I love cluster focusing. Robin has a tutorial on it. That's how I learned it. Oh, okay. I never use it because it was a sports action kind of setting, right? And I'm only now getting into it. I mean, I've used it, but not enough to be able to just say if it's good or not. Okay. One just sold, what sold for $2,000? Randy's talking about a lens or something. One just sold for 2,000. What lens sold for 2,000? 4/3 lens? Maybe that 300 f4.5. That would be surprising too, but not too surprising. Okay, street should be done with film. Yeah, good old film. What's his name? Lauren. Lauren's not here, but Lauren emailed me a link to his film photos. Wow, they're really nice. Um, I'd share it, but I don't know if I can share it or not. I'm sure he'd be happy to share it with everyone if he were here, but he emailed it to me, a link to his film photos, which are nice. $90 to $250. Oh, okay. I don't know anything about. No, I only know a couple of lenses in the Zuiko lineup, and that's it. You know, the couple that I have, the 50, the 24, and I have a 35 to 100. I also heard that 135 Zuiko is really good too, and it's cheap, or at least it used to be. Okay, I don't see any other questions here. Hopefully, if anybody had any questions about the OM1, just post it now because I'll never find it if you've already asked it and I haven't answered it. But those are my impressions of the OM1. I'm really impressed with the subject detect tracking. I'm going to do a lot more testing. I showed you some of the ones I did with my dog Ellie, but I'm gonna do a little more serious testing this coming week. If there's anything you guys want me to test for specifically, right? Just email me, rob@robtrek.com. Okay, and say, Rob, can you test for this? Can you test for that? Or you know what? I'll do. This will be better. This will be better. I'll put a community post up. Let me do that real quick. So what? Oh, I can't type. Let me know what you'd like me to test on my new OM1 in the comments below. Let's add an image. Let me find an image. If I just put text there, nobody's going to read it. I have to have some bling on there. Maybe the picture I used in this, where did I put that picture? I didn't. I haven't even offloaded off the memory card yet. Come to think of it. Oh, I can't do it. I'll just use a different one. Ah, screw it. I don't need an image. What would you like me to test on my new OM-1? What would you like me to test on? I will make a video for you. Well, I better not say I will. I will try. Try and make a video. Okay. So just go to the community post here. That way I'm not getting 10 emails to, can you check the autofocus, right? Of course I'm going to check the autofocus, but you get my point, right? Okay. How do I get back to me? No, the handheld high-res shot mode. Okay, that's a good question. Oh, and there's another question here up here too. I'll talk from Gigafish. Okay, so don't let me miss that one. What was the question about handheld high-res max S ISO? All right. So let's see. I think it is higher. I think it'll go to 12,000 now, but I'll know once I try it. So let's go to the screen and we want to go to the computational modes, high-res shot. Turn this on. Let's do handheld because you said HHHR, handheld high-res shot, right? 50 megapixel raw, 1 second waiting time. Good. And then, okay, so let's go in the super control panel and see if I can set the ISO any higher. Ooh, look at that. Let's try 100,000. And if you look in the top left corner, the high-res shot mode is on. So let's take a picture of my thing here. Ugh, everything's moving. Let me try something more static. High-res shot here. Image composite failed. Am I in handheld or not? Yes. Good job. Good job, OM. Making me look good here. I can't get a shot. Let's lower the ISO maybe. Maybe there's just not enough detail in this room. Let me try a messy area. Yeah, that's what the problem is. High-res shot mode has to try to find multiple points that it can match. And when I take a picture of something relatively simple like this, it's not finding enough points to match to blend them back together. It should have got something here, but maybe not. All right. So let's try one at ISO 100,000. Do the same thing. Oh, all right. There we go. So, yeah, no problem, right? Let's look at the info. Come on, info, info. There it is. ISO 100,000. Does it show the, yeah, 8160 by 6120. So yeah, there's no limit. Okay. There's another question, I think, from Gigafish. Any new AF features on the OM1 that you like, not subject detection? No, I'm not aware of anything new. Let me just double check. I think the subject detect is the only significant new item. Because Starry Sky had in the M1 Mark III. Illuminator died. That's the same. Center priority, all that's the same. Targeting modes, loop settings, all that's the same. Peaking. Yeah, there's nothing else new, really. I think other than maybe one of the workflow issues where you can unassign the shutter button and use the AF on button. That is probably some other people may really like. It doesn't, right now, it doesn't matter to me because I haven't been shooting that much using the AF on button. But that's about it. And Randy says maybe next week. Okay. Yeah, come on in next week. Oh, Randy's asking anybody wants to go live and talk about cameras I have. Maybe not today. Maybe we'll do that next week. But Randy's asking if people want Randy to come on, I'll bring him on. But the audience is dwindling at this point because I kind of hinted I might be ending soon. Okay, Rob, I'll let you know any questions regarding OM1 when I eventually get it and have a chance to try out. Shame I'll not receive it. Oh, you're not going to get it before March 22nd. That is a shame. Can you bypass finding a complimentary AT? I don't know what that is. A complimentary I don't know what you're talking about. Is tripod high res limited? Okay, I won't connect the camera, but I'll just tell you. Let's go to computational modes, put this into tripod, 80 megapixel raw, 2-second, 0-second charge. Okay, good. And let's crank the ISO up to 100,000. Ah, ha, 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 it is limited. Okay, so I will show this on the screen because it's different. This, so I go into the menu, right? So high-res shot, my tripod mode, 80 megapixel. So I'm trying to adjust the ISO. So I'm just going up 1600, then it goes to auto. I can do 80, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600. Then it goes to auto. So looks like handheld high res. I'm sorry, tripod high res is limited to ISO 1600 right there. If there's any other settings in here. What if I do 50 megapixel? Yeah, still limited, so. Handheld tripod high res mode is limited to ISO 1600. Heidi says for cluster AF, go to AF section in the menu, go to second tab. Okay, let's try it. Because I wasn't able to find the AF cluster the same way I did on the M1 Mark III. So he's saying go to the menu, go to AF menu, go to the second tab, and go to AF area pointer and select on to. Okay. So let's see. Everything here looks good. Do continuous. Oh, I'm in freaking high res mode. Hold on. Let me turn that off. Okay, let's try again. Super control panel, USAF. Okay, I'm not seeing it. So let's try continuous AF with tracking. Oh, there it is. Jackpot. Good job. Thank you, Heidi. Or Hattie. I'm sorry. That's quite the name you got there. It's awesome. That is working. Good job. All right. So much I don't know. Awesome. Thank you very much. And the audience thanks you as well. Tripod is only 8 pictures. Maybe no noise benefit. Yeah, that makes sense, right? If you're on a tripod, you can use whatever shutter speed anyway. How is the OM-1 vintage lemons for focusing. I use with a focal reducer. It's fine. Yeah, I really like the smoothness of the focus ring on the vintage OM lenses. And then if you use the magnify function instead of focus peaking, you'll get better results. It's a little more precise when you can actually see it magnified. But yeah, it's great using vintage lenses. And Danny Go is asking that. And yeah, next week, Randy, definitely. I might have a guest on next week though. We'll see. Maybe Thursday. We'll see. Whenever I'm on, there's always a link down below. So we'll get you next week. As soon as available. Thought you liked the new EVF for your failing eyes. That's the irony, right? The worse my eyes get, the less benefit I get from high-res stuff. What helps is magnification. The larger something is, the better. The better resolution it is doesn't really help quite as much. But OMDS only make like 12 cameras. I don't know. I was lucky. I got mine. I think my camera store still has some available here locally. So go to districtcamera.com. If you're in the US, they'll ship it to you. In the US, I don't know if they'll ship overseas, but they shipped mine to me. Even though they're local, I had it shipped to me. Why does handheld high-res shot air like that? Any way to shut it off would be nice for some additional effects. Yeah, like I said, I'm like not in a well-lit room. Plus, I mean, I'm making a lot of excuses here, right? But like I said, high-res shot mode, for it to blend the images together, it has to scan every image for points that it can match, right? So that it can align things. And if that alignment, if it can't find enough things to align, it's not going to be able to blend those things together. So like when I was pointing this at a plain wall or relatively low detail scene, it's going to have more trouble than it did when I pointed it over here at my messy cabinet, right? And I had a much better success rate. And even though you're doing handheld, you still need to be pretty steady, right? So I'm kind of at an angle. I'm not prepared. I'll test it more, but you will get errors time to time with handheld high-res shot mode if if any variety of factors come into play. When I'm indoors and holding kind of sideways like this, yeah, even handheld is going to struggle with that, especially with a low detail scene. But generally, outside landscape, it's going to. Whoops. I don't know why I lost everything. I'm sorry. Uh, Test it more. Yeah, put it in my community tab on YouTube. I'll try and remember that, but if I don't, I don't, I'm going to forget. But I was planning to compare them side by side, but I wasn't going to compare the failure rate. I can add that. That's a good, hopefully I'll remember that. But if not, like I said, I have a community tab. Yeah, Danny wants to use the high. Yeah, the high res EVF is nice. Just look at it again. But I mean, it's a lot nicer than the EM1 Mark III. But it's a very low priority anymore for me to have a really nice EVF and live view. That priority's dropped. The most important thing to me now is the autofocus, um, which I always thought was really good, but now with this subject detect, it's freaking amazing. And I'll make some videos. ISO noise performance is not an issue for me either. Even though I do some night photography and stuff, the thing, but being able to focus in low light, that's important. And that's what this camera can do. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I think I'll call it here because I'm getting hungry. It's lunchtime. Um, so thanks everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I think Tuesday I'm going to be on Jimmy Chang's live stream talking about the EM1. So hopefully I'll get a couple more days of shooting before I go to his stream. It's kind of too cold today, but tomorrow is definitely going to be nicer. And I'll talk about more there. I don't know what he's going to ask me, you know, but I really don't have anything bad to say about the camera at this point. Everything about it has really met my expectations. Uh, Leaving ISO performance off the table because that was not one of my expectations to begin with. But now that it's on the table, I will be testing for that and doing videos on that and try to have a competent answer on that when I go to Jimmy's live stream. So you guys, oh, sorry, there is one more quick question here. I thought I had it. Oh, maybe not. But anyhow, what was I talking? Yeah, Jimmy Chang is having a stream on Tuesday. I'm not sure what time yet, but definitely check out his channel. He's streaming every week now, it seems like, which is awesome. So always, go there, support Jimmy if you can. And Peter has a live stream tomorrow for the 52 assignment thing for the things. Let's see if any of my pictures made it this time, or if any of your pictures made it. Hopefully you're participating in that as well. Uh, I hope somebody got in, one of us that we know. I keep trying, but I doubt I'll ever make it because man, you guys submit some awesome photos compared to whatever I produce, man. It's like no competition. But you guys have a good week. Thanks for coming in today.